Will Butts is a para-athlete in the worlds of tennis, track and field, and sometimes soccer. With a passion for music and acting, the outgoing and supremely confident Will can be summed up in his own words. If I can't do something, it's not that I really can't do it. It's just that I haven't found a way to do it yet. So, if you will, I hope you'll join me as we meet Will Butts. Alright, I'm currently recording in the dark with Will Butts. I'll let him introduce himself real quick, and then we'll probably go from there and get some questions based on how he answers himself.
All right. Hi, my name's Will Butts. I live here in Tyler, Texas, and I am an amputee in all four parts of my body, all four limbs. So I'm missing 3 fingers on my right hand and 4 on my left, and all of my toes. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I think a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. But I drum, I run track, and I'm in theater with my school.
Okay, so you said you're an amputee, so you weren't born missing feet and fingers?
So I was born missing feet and fingers, but it's not, so I didn't lose it in like an accident or a fire or something like that, but I was born with like this, yes.
Oh, okay. I guess I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what amputee meant. Okay, so yeah, you talked about music and stuff. So where did that come from? And just because you talked about piano, you talked about drums.
Yeah.
And both of those use your fingers a lot. So
So in 6th grade, I started drumming on my school's drum line in the junior high. It was like a once a week sort of deal with like a single show at the end of the year. And it was a lot of fun. And then in 8th grade, they for me that would have been last year. They made a prosthetic. It was 3D printed, most of it, and what it did was it had a rubber band. It was able to hold the drumstick for a snare drum. I was able to bounce it. But then this year I was put on the bass marching line. So our drum line for marching, we only have 4 sections: cymbals, tenors, snares, and bass. And the bass is the biggest, with a side-to-side motion of the sticks.
yeah.
So it tore the prosthetics up, and we've actually been working, the engineering teacher, and I and some people in his class have been working on creating something that I can hit the bass drum with and produce the same level of noise. But until then, I've been hitting with my hands, and I've been able to produce somewhat, maybe about a medium amount of noise where I'd like to be.
So I'm trying to picture. You said it was a 3D printed process. So is it like the ones I've seen online where it kind of grips?
So what we did was we had like a cuff, a sleeve almost, and that had straps around it, and then we had 2 little metal bars with like a metal hinge in the middle that connected to another one up in the front, kind of like a tricycle. So we had like 1 and 2 in the back, and it had a rubber band in between them, and so it would hold the stick. Sorry, I lied. It's 4. It's like a bicycle, not a tricycle. So it had. Not a bicycle, it would be a car. I'm really tired, I'm sorry. But so we had 2 of...
Perhaps a quad?
It was a quad, there we go. So a quadsicle. So we had 2, and then 2, and then the rubber band was in between the front 2, and the end of the stick was bolted to the back 2.
So it's kind of like how you can like hit the snare and then it bounces a little bit?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just recreating that kind of...
Basically.
Okay. So... You said you also played the drum kits. So,
I do.
So do you use the prosthetic with that? Or?
So they kind of got destroyed in
Yeah.
starting bass drumming. So I have actually been doing this. I've been just playing with 1 stick, or I've been used rubber bands. So it takes away speed. I can't play certain notes that are, if the song is really fast, I can't play all the notes. I have to play some more important ones, which is what I've had to do with bass drum too, because I only play with 1 stick. And so I can hit 90 or so % of the notes I'm supposed to hit, but every now and then, if it gets really fast, I won't be able to hit 1 or 2.
Okay, so how do you hold the stick then? Is it just
So
between
I kind of
2 of your fingers, or?
So I kind of push it in between my palms almost. I use pressure, a little bit like this, but it's a lot smaller because it's a stick, not a water bottle.
Okay, so you're like putting both hands together.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And then I just use my fingers to kind of wrap around it a little bit.
What about pedals for like your hi-hat and kick?
So yeah, for those, my prosthetics have a carbon foot plate on them, so I just kind of lift up my knee and then press it back down again whenever I need to make a hi-hat or bass drum note.
Yeah. Are you able to do like triplets with that? Or?
Triplets and I haven't really made triplets with my bass drum or hi-hat yet.
Yeah.
But I can do pretty slow triplets with my with one stick.
Yeah.
But once it gets upward of 120 or so BPM, it gets a lot harder.
So you're not John Bonham yet.
No.
But you're working towards it.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Okay. So when did you first start playing the kit? Was that before you started drumline?
That was actually in August. So I started high school drumline, and I was kind of like, I feel like a kit would be a lot of fun. I'd really like to learn how to play one. So I was able to go to Mutt Music and purchase one. And I started learning. I have some books. And then, of course, with drumline knowledge, I've been able to learn some of the basics, and I feel like I've gotten better, but I don't know.
I mean, you can't help but get better if you're practicing.
Yeah.
So what bands are you into?
So, that's a good question. I don't really like one band in particular. There are different songs for some bands. I really like pop and then a little bit of rock.
Yeah.
But kind of like the slower pop. Not really the more recent, but like kind of the 2010s, early 2000s sort of stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm not into the pop world that much, so all right, we'll drop it. I won't try to sound intelligent here. Then the piano, like when did you start playing that?
So I think that was 6th or 7th grade. And even with that, I can only really play the melody. I mean, there are some songs where I can play both melody and bass, depending on, like, if it's only one note per melody and bass rhythm. But whenever it comes to, like, multiple notes, it gets a lot harder, seeing as I can only hit 3 at a time. 3 or 4 or so if it's in one area of the keyboard. I can put my palm down also.
Yeah.
So it makes playing fast and across different areas kind of hard. But I've managed to get by pretty well.
Yeah.
For the past few years.
I mean, it's kind of like jazz. It's the notes you don't hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about sports and stuff.
Right.
I mean, most people wouldn't assume you'd be doing track and field and stuff. So where did that start off for you?
The way that and this is really cool in my opinion, but Paralympic sports go down to really young ages.
Yeah.
So not actually in the Paralympics itself, but in like junior nationals, and there are parasport areas all around the country and world. So I started running when I was 8 at the Endeavor Games in Oklahoma. I broke my first national record there in the long jump. And then whenever I was 9, I ran in my first junior nationals, and that was in Wisconsin. And since then it's been in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Denver. And next year it's in Alabama. But I've run for the state of Texas since I was 9. And then, let's see. So I've run track since I was 8. I've played soccer since I was a young age, maybe around 6 or so. And then I played tennis whenever I was 6 or 7 for about a year, and then I stopped, got back into tennis again in the 7th grade. And I played in my first international amputee tournament recently. There were only 3 kids, and I placed 2nd. So it wasn't great, but it was. I beat one of them.
Only placing 2nd.
I beat one of them out of 3, so that's all right. And then, but
I feel like we're kind of moving fast through it. So I kind of want to know, like, how did you first get started? Like, who signed you up and everything? Like,
so it was my parents who first started me. My sister and I both ran, just mainly the short distances. Whenever I was 8, and I kind of fell in love with it then, and ever since then I've been running track. But it was really my parents who started me, and then now it's more self-driven.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, they want me to be able to to pursue my goals, and I hope to run in the Paralympics one day. But they want me to be able to pursue my goals. But if it doesn't matter to me, it doesn't matter to them. So, or well, that's not necessarily true. But in the sense of like track, they're all right if I decide I don't want to do track anymore. If I need to take a break or something.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot more self-driven because I love the sport so much, and I want to keep competing.
Yeah. So what is it about track? 'Cause that seems to be your kind of main thing, or is it even?
Probably, I mean, I've always said that there should be able to win in your hair and stuff like that, but honestly, I feel like it's the best right now for amputees, which has been a lot of, and people with disabilities, which has been a lot of help. Like recently, UIL in Texas, I was able to talk to them, asking them to make standing track for high school like a thing in its own category, instead of not just me, but people like me having to run against able-bodied kids, because it's really hard. I have running blades, which help me a lot.
Yeah.
But I was looking at my running blade recently on the website of the maker of the blade, Oster, and it gave me a number, a percentage. It said able-bodied people get somewhere around 230% of the power they put in from their ankle, and I don't have a working ankle, really. So my blade gives me about 90% of that. And of course, having blades and not having feet, it makes it a lot harder to keep up with people who are fully able-bodied, which I feel like parasports do a really good job of that, in that they give you a new division. So it's based on age and disability. So I'm like a T62. Right now I'm U17. And so it just gives me a way to compete a lot
Yeah.
more fairly than.
So there's like different categories and
Yeah.
stuff instead of you just being thrown in either with somebody who's fully able-bodied or somebody who's worse off than you or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if they put me and a kid in a wheelchair in the same heat, like for some races I'd probably beat him. Like in sprints, I could probably beat someone in a wheelchair because they can. Oh, there's power. Because they can. Oh, never mind. There it goes again. In a sprint, because I can build power a lot faster than them.
Yeah.
But then in a long distance race, I can't keep that power for as long. I'll die a lot sooner, which is why amputee and people with standing disabilities, or in certain para sports, we aren't like, there aren't options for really long races like the 3,000 and 5,000 meter runs. So but it makes it a lot more fair. Is one of the reasons why I love track a lot.
Yeah.
And field.
Yeah. So the running blades, like I'm just, if you'll allow me to be curious.
Yeah.
Okay. So like as you grow, because I'm guessing like your body grows normally.
Mm-hmm.
So do you scale up those? Do you have to buy like new legs basically every couple of years?
Whenever I was younger, since I was about 8 or so, I think 8 was the first year I actually got a pair of blades. And from between 8 until I was 14 years old, I was running on kid blades. I wasn't heavy enough to move up to adult blades. Those are, they aren't great. They're made with like playing in mind, not actually sports. And I'm a very active person, and so I was a very active kid. So I was of course playing all the time, but also track, and soccer, and tennis, and all these sports. So I was just tearing these things up. I'd have to but by the end of I grew a pair about every 9 months. I still do. So by the end of every 9 months or so, I was duct taping the blades to keep them together. I remember I could drag it across the blade, which is made out of carbon fiber. I could drag it across something like carpet, and I could pull out splinters of it. And then the soles themselves weren't great either. They were made with playing in mind.
Yeah.
So I was running through a pair of soles every month or two. And then I went to an all-around leg last year, my first adult pair of legs. And that was a lot stronger and a lot faster.
So So that's still like one of the running
Yes.
curved ones. Okay.
Yeah, and
I was
then
just
yeah,
like, I'm trying to like picture exactly what you're talking.
it's
If
basically
you
like a hook,
yeah
um, which it works a little like a hook in that it catches stuff.
yeah. So what you're wearing now, basically.
Well, no, what I'm wearing now are my walking legs, so the curve is like this, whereas my running legs, it's like it goes straight, and then there's this massive curve to give me as
Oh, okay.
much speed and power of each step as possible.
Yeah. So is that? I'm guessing they'd have to do that based on your weight too.
Yeah, it's based
Like
on
to get.
weight and height. Well, but they can't make me a certain height. There are certain heights because of the fairness level of running. For instance, you don't want a kid who's 7 foot tall running against because his blades are 2 feet long,
Yeah.
right? That would be unfair. But then they can upgrade me based on weight.
Yeah.
So like for the heavier I get, the less I like. If I was on a kid pair of blades right now, I would crush them, just because they can't hold. They're built for kids. They aren't built for
Yeah.
teenagers or. So the pair I have right now is really good because I'm not getting the full power of it just yet because I just got them. But I'm working there.
Yeah. So it like I can only imagine that like once you're used to a certain height, is there like a transition period where you can kind of gotta
Yeah.
maybe not relearn, but get a little bit more stable on them?
Yeah. So about every 9 months to a year, if I get a new pair of blades, it's like, whoa, I'm suddenly 2 inches taller than I was a week ago or
Yeah.
whatever, or I guess an hour ago because I put on the new blades. So I need to get used to the way the new blades, because they're still new, right? I haven't broken them in yet, and new soles, so they're a lot springier and bouncier than my old ones, which I've been running on for multiple months. Um, so it's like it's definitely a transition for a little, only about a day or two though, and then I get pretty used to them.
Yeah. So now you said soccer, so that's a team sport. Are you playing with other uh like people with your condition, I guess,
So
or is this just kind of everybody?
So, they don't really have MPC soccer for people my age.
Yeah.
It's in the Paralympics, but not I haven't been able to do it competitively. Um,
Yeah.
so I played soccer with my school for 2 years, 7th and 8th grade. I wasn't able to this year because of time wise. And also, but that was the main reason. There's not really an also. I don't know why I said also, but time's the biggest reason.
You just want to sound like there's other reasons.
And also,
yeah.
no, it's just time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I played soccer for 2 years, and then, but actually no, I figured out the also. I love track a lot more. I can get better blades for sprinting if I don't
Yeah.
do a lot of other sports, which is why I also had to drop cross country this year because 30 miles and the 100-meter dash are a lot different, and so I would have needed all-around blades or blades for long distance or sprinting, and it was better. I preferred the sprinting, and also being an amputee because of the lack of an ankle, it's harder on my knees to run distance, especially over like rocky terrain, mud, sand, cross country. So
Yeah.
that was the reason why I'm not doing cross country. And in soccer, mainly time.
Yeah.
But if we have time, I have a funny story about blades in soccer.
Oh, it's long form, man.
All right, great. So yeah, last year I was playing soccer. Obviously, that's what the story's about. That shouldn't come as a surprise. But I'm playing, and I kicked the ball, and it got stuck in my blade. In between the end of my socket, where my foot locates, and the bottom of the blade itself. So it's stuck in the blade, and I start running. That's what my coach told me to do if it happens again. This happened a few times. So he was like, you can get an extra 10 yards if they call you on it. So the ref did call me. He called it a handball for illegal carrying, because I wasn't kicking it really. I was carrying it in my blade. So and then we had another kid, and so I tried to get it out, and I couldn't get it out. It was kind of wedged in there. So we had another kid who tried to come over and try to kick it, and he missed. Or he hit it. He missed where he missed the ball. He missed getting it out. There, guys. He missed the center of it. So it didn't really get it out. It just kind of wedged it a little bit further along. And then we were able to kind of push and kick and get it out. But it was funny.
Yeah.
But that happened a few times actually. So yeah.
Yeah. So did you feel like you struggled that much more than the other kids on the team?
Yeah.
Or?
I think about soccer is that you're supposed to pass with the inside of your foot, and
Yeah.
for the inside of my foot is like an inch tall.
Yeah.
So it made it made passing a lot harder. Dribbling was really hard because of the gap in between the bottom of the sole of my blade and the bottom of my socket.
Yeah.
So meaning I have 6 or so inches of just space. So it made dribbling a lot harder. But I mean, so it made it. There was definitely a noticeable gap. Which even then, we had some kids on my team who were really good. Like played with clubs, practiced. Like soccer was their jam, their sport.
Yeah.
And for me, it was always track. That was my sport. But so I didn't have the same amount of experience or skill as some of these kids. So yeah.
Yeah. So now on to tennis, because I know I saw a video of you playing, but I can't remember. How do you hold the racket?
So it comes with a story, but so I'm gonna explain the story first. But 2 years ago, 7th grade, I came home one day. I'm like, "Hey, Mom, I signed up for tennis," and she's like, "Okay, cool. When does it start?" I said, "Tomorrow." Excuse me. So in the past, whenever I was a lot younger, I had a prosthetic. It was custom made for me in Dallas, where I went to. I had a prosthetist there. So this is the night before tennis starts, and I don't have anything that fits me. So we went to Walgreens and bought an ace bandage and a thumb brace. And so what I do now is I got rid of the thumb brace, but I wrapped the ace bandage around the racket in my arm, and so it harder shots. It makes it a lot harder to return because it's not a great contraption. I mean, it works pretty well, but so yeah, that's how I hold it, or the prosthetic back when I was 6 or 7.
Yeah. So yeah, you seem like pretty confident. Like you're signing up for tennis, and you're not even sure how you're gonna hold the racket. So, have you always been that confident in yourself? Or?
Yeah, a big part of being an amputee, for me at least, is I have to adapt to a lot of stuff. And I have gear that helps with that, like prosthetics and ace bandages and stuff like that. But a lot of the time I've had to just work around something. So, if I can't do something, it's not really that I can't do it, it's just that I haven't figured out a way to do it yet.
Yeah.
Which sometimes that means gear, but other times it means I need to do it a different way. So whenever it comes to anything physical, it's not. I'm most of the time able to work around it or figure out a different way.
Yeah. So, are there any sports that you're like, I still want to pursue this, I want to go for that? Or are you happy with track? Like you said, that's your main.
I love tennis, and I'm pursuing it. I'm not able to do it with school because it's in track season, and also just between drumline, track, and theater, we all have big performances or competitions coming up this last semester of school. So it's between this semester and the last. So it's a lot of. It's a lot. And then, so working in tennis wouldn't have been really possible. But on that note, I am actually part of the adaptive committee for USTA, United States Tennis Association.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently, I think I'm probably the only teenager on it, I would assume. But I have a meeting this month, actually. So I get to go to that and try to figure out ways to make tennis more inclusive and get more adaptive players involved. And any international tournament I went to in December that I played at. And then, there's one more thing. What was it? I recently got so at that tennis tournament, the one in December at SMU was where we were playing. It was uh, the adaptive. It was the annual adaptive standing tennis tournament. And my first coach, the one who taught me, I was like 6 or 7, my first tennis coach, he came and he set me up with Head, with like their college sponsor, college agreement sort of deal. So so I'm kind of a Head sponsor a little bit, or like the entryway level. Um, and then I'm working with USTA and adaptive.
So what does that sponsorship
So
get you?
what,
Like,
as of right now, what I know is that I get a racket and some Head merchandise and gear, and then I get $100 credit towards their store every month online.
Okay.
So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I didn't know that was a brand.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out
Oh,
what.
yeah,
Like,
it's a tennis brand. They make tennis rackets and tennis gear. Um,
No, that's
yeah,
sick. You're getting sponsored and everything, man.
yeah,
Yeah. So with the, because you said you were on some kind of board to like make tennis more inclusive.
yeah.
So how did you end up on that?
So I kind of just applied in like November. Um, I was kind of, I know Cindy Benson, who's the head of USTA in Texas and the head of the adaptive program in Texas. And I met her a few years ago. I went to an adaptive tennis tournament, not the international one. It was in San Antonio. And so I was able to play there. I met some really nice people at their amputees like me who played tennis. And I met Cindy, and ever since then we've kind of worked together a little bit. I've gone to the same tournament a few times, and then the international one in December. And then so now I was kind of like, hey, I was told there was an adaptive committee, and my mom, she helped me to sign up. And so I was like, this could be really cool. Um, let's try it. So I was, I don't know what the word is, allowed in, I guess, maybe not,
Yeah.
accepted, there we go, that's the
Yeah.
word. Um, and so I'm really excited to be a part of this. I think it's going to be a learning experience for me, and I hope we can make a change.
Yeah. So what are some of your ideas about how you could make it more inclusive, how you could kind of boost the
So
amputees in that area?
the I'd really like to work with more amputee youths in Texas. There aren't a lot of us who play tennis. It's basically just me and one other kid or so, from what I've seen. That doesn't mean there aren't other people who play tennis who are also amputees, who are also kids in Texas.
Yeah.
That just means that from what I've seen at the two different tournaments I've been at, there were only a few of us.
Yeah.
And not two. There were a few more who were learning, but so at the international tournament, there were 3 people under the age of 18. One of us was from Chile. She was part of the international part of the tournament, and then 2 of us were from Texas. And so there aren't a ton of youths playing adaptive tennis if they're standing.
Yeah.
And part of that, I think, is because it's really hard to, especially if you're a hand amputee, because, equipment and stuff like that.
Not everybody can get an ace bandage.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, there's power again. So, yeah, but, so I hope to be able to get more youths playing, more teenagers, more kids, and power's out again. And it's back. But yeah.
Yeah. So,
And it's gone.
and it's gone again. Let's go into theater. So,
All right.
How did that start with you?
So I've always loved using my imagination, kind of acting, ever since I was really young. And then in 6th grade, we had to do a fine art for the junior high. So I chose theater, and then I've stuck with it. I really love theater. I have great directors, and I really enjoy doing it and performing, getting on the stage, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what is it necessarily about being on stage and stuff? Is it getting into character? Like,
I think it's becoming a different character, because it's not like it's you portraying the characters. It's, for me at least, you become the character for a limited time almost.
yeah,
And I really love that. But also just kind of everything about theater. I love working on a show and designing. I don't personally design the set, but I love the way that they do set design and the little details and the way that props are made. And I just love theater a lot, and I'd like to keep doing it. I don't know if I'll make it a career or not, but I'd like to keep doing it through high school at least.
yeah. No, that's great. I love theater myself. Me and my girlfriend actually met in theater.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's just working and doing this. I don't have
Yeah.
enough time for it.
Yeah.
I miss it a lot. But so I guess the conclusion to this, the last question is like, what do you want to pursue in life? Is it necessarily sports or acting or music, or like what other ambitions might you have?
Yeah, I love learning. I'm not terrible at school. I'll put it that way. So I enjoy learning and I love reading. So I'd like to be able to do something that I like to do something that makes a change, makes an impact. I also want to run in the Paralympics, and those might go together, they might not, but I'm not sure what I want to do for a career yet, because I love learning and I love sports and I love music and theater. I know I probably won't go into theater or music. I do want to keep pursuing them, but not as really a career.
Yeah, it's just a passion.
Just a passion, yeah, or like a hobby, or more than a hobby. A passion's a great term for it.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to do something that incorporates that where I can keep learning as I go. So I'm not sure what that is yet. I'm not sure what I want to pursue. But I hope to know soon.
Here's the thing about learning, and I've learned this from different people I've interviewed and everything. And it's learning isn't school.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like you said, like I'm okay at school. It's not that school should be teaching you how to learn, but
Yeah.
it's really just staying curious.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And I read a lot. Like I read a ton, and then but I also
What do you like to read? Just
pretty much anything I get my hands on.
yeah.
So I really enjoy fantasy. But I've read a lot of stuff. Some of it a little bit weirder than others. I recently went on just like a random classic, kind of binge kind of, but that's not the right word. Where I read, the Communist Manifesto, which is a little bit odd. But I don't believe most of it, but but then stuff like that, and then I also enjoy more of a comedy side of books. So I recently read a book called How to Talk to Your Cat About Gun Safety, and I highly recommend it if you're worried about your cat getting into guns. But if you aren't, it's a funny book to read, or like a good gag gift. But I just read pretty much anything I get my hands on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
It was
for
a lot
all
of fun.
this. Is there anything like, for one, I want to link. You were talking about the organization you're a part of for tennis.
Yeah.
If you want to shout that out, and
Yeah. So I'm part of USTA, the Adaptive Committee. So that's the United States Tennis Association. And also TRPS, which is Texas Regional Parasport. That's the group who I run track with at the national level.
okay, yeah. So I just wanted to be able to link those and everything, so
Yeah.
people can find them. And I mean, it sounds really cool what you're doing already.
Thank you.
You're what, 15, 16?
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
15.
15, yeah, and you're already super accomplished, man.
Thank
and
you.
thank you so much for this
Yeah,
interview.
thank you.
It's
I
been a
mean,
lot of fun.
it's probably not as captivating as like a Soviet or murderer, but hopefully it's
Don't worry about that, man. I found this just as interesting as
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I'm glad. I enjoyed it too.
Like I said, just keep learning. Be curious.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. You made it to the end of the video. That's pretty cool. You must have liked it. I had a fun time recording it, and I hope you did like it. Well, if you liked it, you might as well share it with other people. You might as well like the video. Go ahead and subscribe because I make videos like that all the time. So, yeah. I'm just gonna...